live yet. Alright. Hello and happy Sunday. I was listening to a show I watch on Saturdays called with Mike and Jeff on Facebook. And there was someone who was curious about Space Marine chapters, companies, and all that. So I let them know that I would do a short video talking about that. And that's what I'm about to do. This is not for gameplay. I know normally we are a competitive podcast, but sometimes people want to start collecting too. And the best way to do that, in the case of the Space Marines for a lot of people, is by buying them and building up a company to a chapter sometimes, if you're that crazy. So we'll get started. So it's going all the way back. Anybody who's not familiar, they might be new to the whole game. Space Marines were originally legions, which had tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of Space Marines who did various things from battle line to command to apothecaries, which are medics. Then the Horus Heresy happens, and once that's over, the half of the Space Marine legions that are still around are split up into what they call chapters by the Primarch Roboute Guilliman. People say that name in all sorts of different ways. You'll pick and choose how you want to say it. Anyway, so because of them doing that from such large legion numbers, there are multiple chapters for each of the different original legions. And for the most part, I'm sorry for the dogs, you'll hear them because I'm live. You'll have multiple chapters. I'm sorry, hold on a second. I apologize for that. Anyway, so one of the things that happens is he creates what's called the Codex Astartes and gives a guide on how the Space Marine chapter should be organized. What you see on the screen is a page from the newest of the Space Marine codexes, and it gives kind of an idea of how it is. It's very general. I have a more specific one I'll be showing you in a second. So we'll get started. So I apologize, I still need to get a better camera. But we start off with a chapter command, which includes the chapter master and his honor guard. There's the armory, which includes the master forge. So we're talking tech marines, servitors, and a lot of the vehicles. There's the librarius, so you get the chief librarian, and in the fluff, different librarians have different titles and how it has to do and how senior they are. There's the reclusium, which is the chaplains headed up by the Master of Sanctity. Then you have the apothecarian, which has all the apothecaries. From there, you have the first company, which is made up of veterans. So you get veterans, honor guards, and at the chapter master's discretion, it might include some dreadnoughts. For the second through fifth companies, they're the ones that are called the battle companies. And what they have is they have battle line squads. It used to be that it would say that they had 6, but now it's not, at least in here, it doesn't say how many. It just says battle line squads. You have the close support squads, the fire support squads, and dreadnoughts. For it's kind of a helpful, so what's battle line, what's close support. They do have a list at the bottom here, So battle line includes things like the tactical squads, intercessors, infiltrators, and heavy intercessors. The close support is a very long list. A lot of the faster units are included in close support, including things like the various bike units, jetpack units. It also includes incursors, which, considering that they're a troop choice, I was a little surprised by that. But, it's not to be that strange. It's just one more choice. And of course, another one in there that's not quite so fast are the Reaver squads. I know that's not something people really choose in a competitive case, but it's one of the choices if you're building it more fluff-wise and you want to go that route. Of course, the fire squad is things like the aggressors, centurions. Devastator squads, oddly enough, are in there twice. You get the eliminators, the eradicators, hell blasters, and of course suppressors, all fall under fire support. And of course, each company also has their command squads, which are captains, lieutenants, company veterans, champions, and agents. The 6th and 7th companies are generally made up of just battle line squads and dreadnoughts. 8th is nothing but close support and dreadnoughts. 9th is nothing but fire support and dreadnoughts. And then you have the Scout Company, which is 10th Company, and that is made up entirely of Vanguard squads and Scouts. So Vanguard squads, it's kind of a general term. You don't really see that on the list at the bottom, but that is the stuff that is not the newest releases, but the ones just before where everything is basically considered to be Phobos. So we're talking infiltrators and incursors, reavers, the suppressors, and the eliminators. And of course, the lieutenant and captain in Phobos armor or reaver armor in the case of the one lieutenant. So that's the general organization of what they call a codex compliant chapter. There are two divergent chapters. Theirs is a little bit different. You've got the one that's just a little bit different in the Dark Angels because both their first and their second company are veterans. Their first company is the Terminator Deathwing company. Then you have their second company, which is the Ravenwing. And again, they're all veterans, and they're basically all on bikes and speeders. Outside of that, it's generally all the same. The most divergent is the Space Wolves, and they are organized in Greek companies. They're basically an example of a chapter that's remained at roughly Legion strength. Excuse me, I'm sorry, I have to take a phone call. It's important. So, in fact, they're so divergent, I don't really know enough about them. That would be a question for Jeff with What's New with Mike and Jeff. I'm sure he could answer tons of questions about their organization. The next organization I wanted to bring up is one that I do actually kind of know a little bit about, and that's the Blood Angels. Their organization is a little bit more closely derived of the basic chapter organization. All right. So a lot of it's the same. You still got the chapter command, which is headed by Commander Dante. You've got the Reclusium with the chaplains. They have the Sanguinary Priesthood, which is their apothecarium. Their apothecaries are called Sanguinary Priests. You've got the Librarius. There's the Armory, which of course is the Tech Marines and the vehicles. Then they have the Sanguinary Guard, which is basically a kind of honor guard. And that's where all the Sanguinary Guard are. They're in their own grouping. They're not actually technically a part of any of the companies. From there, you've got the First Company, which are the veterans. You've got Second through Fifth Company, which are battle companies. There's the Sixth and Seventh Company, which are reserve battle line companies. Eighth Company is just close support. The Ninth is the fire support. And of course, the 10th Company, which is the Scout Company. So in the lore, what happens is if any of the companies lose someone, say a battle line or a close support or a fire support, they're actually moved from the 6th through 9th companies into the battle companies to replenish the numbers. So you get people from the 10th company, they get moved up to the 9th through 6th when they're moved into a different kind of position, because you don't retain the scout position once you move into the reserve companies. From there, you're put in one of the main supports, or of course the battle line. And when you become a veteran, eventually you may end up in First Company, but that's not a guaranteed kind of thing. Outside of that, as far as the game itself goes, I'm fairly certain that GW kind of decided that they wanted to build this up to basically have it where you could play a company in the game, which is why you find the battle line as troop choices. Even some of the close support are troop choices. And then you also have the close support and the fire support making up the heavy support, the fast attack, and even some of the elite choice. But that's basically a chapter. As far as numbers go, generally speaking, each company is roughly 100 Marines, not counting you have the positions like the command squads. So back when it was just the miniature Marines, like the tactical squads and all that, you had 60 tactical squads, or not tactical squads, 60 tactical Marines. You had 20 assault Marines, and then you had 20 Devastators, so that made up to 100. And then, of course, you still had the captain, the lieutenant, and all that stuff. Now it's a little bit more fluid, and even in some of the books, it's mentioned that they're not quite sticking to the old 1,000 number. But for the most part, it's still, the company's still made up the same way, and a chapter is still made up the same way. So, and of course, I think when it comes to the entirety of the 40K lore, the Imperial Space Marines probably have the closest to standardized makeup that you'll get. I mean, I'll admit I'm not really too familiar with the Eye Guard or the Sisters of Silence, or not, yeah, Sisters of Silence, or the Adeptus Sororitas, or pretty much any of the others. Chaos is kind of their own thing. They're disorganized. They're just war bands. Thousand Suns are an interesting one. I'll probably do a video on that, mostly because I have the codex and I can actually show you. The Death Guard are sort of similar to the Thousand Suns. They actually kind of have an organization. Unfortunately, I don't have the codex and I don't really know it off the top of my head. So if you want to see another video like this on another faction in the 40K universe, I'd be happy to try to accommodate you. Just leave a comment here or on the Facebook page, Facebook the Exterminatus, or maybe even on our podcast. You can leave a review on there asking for more of these. But with that, I will talk to you all later. Have a good one.